Three, two, one. Welcome back to the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. Yes, this is Isaiah Vreeman. No, Keaton is out on assignment. He had a very big thing today with his daughter, so he may join us a little bit later. We're not exactly sure, but Brad Lauer's with us as well. It is the eve of the biggest thing that's going to be happening in the sports calendar this calendar year. And I think it's important that we all take a step back and just acknowledge and understand the greatness that we are all going to witness tomorrow, since today is the eve of this particular event. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, shame on you. But those of you who do know exactly what I'm talking about, you feel it. I mean, I know you can feel it just like I can. And that's another reason why I think really Keaton might not be here, is Seahawks Rams tomorrow, Thursday night football. It's a shame it has to be on a Thursday night, but greatest Thursday night game ever, possibly. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I think, one thing about Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, there's one game. And so everybody's watching. And even if it wasn't a great game, as you tell everybody it is, everybody's going to be watching. And Rams, Seahawks, first, second. Cooper Kupp played for the Rams, now plays for the Seahawks. Rams have been hot. Really, the Seahawks have been hot. Both of them looking like they could be Super Bowl teams. So it's the must-watch TV.
It's for number one seed in the NFC. It's for the number one in the NFC West. And if you lose, you're tied with the Rams, or tied with the 49ers, who are only one game behind the Rams and Seahawks for the best record in the NFC. So it's everything. It's just a big, like I said, sporting event of this calendar year. Not the Super Bowl, not anything else. It's Rams Seahawks on Thursday.
Well,
I know I'll be watching.
Yeah.
I'll be watching a little bit later than the start, because there's a reason for that. As much as I hype this game, there's a reason why I will not be watching it live right away. And for those of you that have my cell number, if you text me score updates, you will be blocked and you will be banned, period. So don't do that. Just fair warning. Now, and I know we have a guest that's going to come on here in a little bit that will tell us a little bit about what's coming up starting on Thursday and continuing through Saturday. And, it's the start of the basketball season. So there is just a massive amount of things going on starting tomorrow night.
Isaiah, one thing about the Seahawks game, and, you start looking at all this money that's being poured into pro sports, and really it's the best thing to watch on TV. You don't know the outcome. It's really better than anything else. But because of that, it's on every network. It's on ESPN. But one thing I never wanted to see, and we're seeing that now, we're seeing it get on cable. And the thing I don't like about that is not everybody has cable. I mean, the nice thing before, essentially, is you could easily have access to everything. Now, I mean, how much money does pro football need? They're sitting on a endless bag of money. And, occasionally they do good things with us, and that's cool. But, to NBC pays, ABC pays, CBS pays, ESPN pays, and now Prime.
Amazon Prime pays, Netflix pays, Peacock will pay.
Just money, money, money. So you got to applaud, those financial planners. But on the other hand, it took them about 100 years to figure out how to run an overtime. So they're not that smart.
Well, I'll tell you this. I got my money for the Seahawks game on Prime tomorrow. It's going to be epic. I cannot wait. And I know that's mainly the reason why Keaton didn't want to be on. He gave it's his daughter's thing. Okay, I guess, but he didn't want to hear all the Seahawks talk that he knew I would be spewing in of course, this game. Now, if they play poorly and lose and all that, we won't hear anything about it next week. I'll be very focused on other things. But if they win, just you wait, everybody. I might be insufferable. I just might be. Just so you know, I just fair warning, I might be.
1976, I was going to school at Washington State, and that's when the Seahawks started. And you'd watch a game, and occasionally back then, with Steve Largent, Jim Zorn, they upset somebody, and basically at that time, everybody went to the cafeteria because they were all watching it until that happened. And during that time frame, it wasn't all victory after victory, but
No.
it was a happening. And you know, with the Mariners getting going around that time, and the Seahawks, and living in Eastern Washington, you just kind of jump on that bandwagon. And Isaiah, truth be told, I might jump back on.
Well, you might need to. Packers are reeling a little bit.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that.
They're reeling a little bit. I mean, they're not a bad team. They're not a bad team, but it's going to be a lot of hard. It's going to be a lot harder without Micah on the defense end. It's going to make things a lot. That's going to make things a lot tougher.
Well, I'm going to change the subject to basketball, because when you start talking about big event, tomorrow's the first day that basketball begins. It's been exciting for the coaches and players, even for a couple of weeks, although canceling school a few days probably made them a little anxious. But here we are, the game's ready to start. And Isaiah, you and I both know that tournaments are the lifeblood of basketball these first couple of weeks.
100%.
There's a few individual games. I think Grace plays East, which they do once in a while over the break. But just to go from tournament to tournament and watch, 3 games on 3 straight days, and you get done with that one, and then there's another one. We're going to find out a lot about all these teams, and that's what tournaments are for. You find out about teams, and coaches find out who they got and which players are going to stand up. So just looking forward to the next few weeks that way.
No, it's especially up here. Tournaments are the way people see each other, because travel's a big problem, the expense of it. So you might as well be able to get your money's worth. Tournaments are a big deal, big deal, especially the first 6 weeks of the season. And then really people get into a lot more conference play starting the middle of January. Now there's some more tournaments throughout the rest of January and into February, true. But that's when more and more conference play starts to really take hold and take shape for the teams. So what is it? By my count last year, I think it was 8 basketball tournaments that start tomorrow. I think it's 8. Now, some move around from year to year and things like that. Some used to be on this weekend, and then they moved to the weekend of in between Christmas and New Year's, and some have moved to some used to be the week before Christmas, and then they changed that. So on average, I would say you're going to anywhere from 5 to 8 tournaments during this span of the beginning of the season, starting tomorrow, Thursday.
Well, one of the interesting aspects, and again, you and I know how this works. Years ago, our start, was in October.
Mm-hmm.
When we went on a trip, we had a lot of games under our belt. But now, starting in the neighborhood of December 1st, if we go to a Vegas or Texas or California tournament, those teams they're like 8-2, 9-3, and your first game is out of control. You look good in practice. You practice good against the second team. But that first game, it's just, I don't know how else to describe it. It's basketball on skates.
It 100% is basketball on skates. There's no doubt about that.
If you only got 1 or 2 games behind you and the team comes up with that kind of experience, aside from being so good, they have that kind of experience. And, between games one and games two, that's when you improve the most. So it'll be interesting in these tournaments. Even, for example, the Grace Grizzly Tournament, they have one outside team, and it, gives us a chance to watch what happens there. Does the outside team have an advantage? Um, with games under their belt. So we'll see right away if that theory works out.
Yeah, I know our guest coming on can tell everybody a little bit more about that team, Coal Valley Christian out of Idaho. But I know there's the Grace Christian Grizzly Classic. There's the Cougar Prep Tip Off that is out at Service. Then there has been one on the Valley. The Al Howard Powerade tournament used to be this weekend, and then it moved to the end of January, towards the end of January. But I know it, and recently it had moved back. I don't know where that status is now. We try to get information on all these different tournaments, but this year it's definitely been a little harder to get that information. But we do have at least one schedule that we'll be able to talk about coming up.
Well, there's a tournament in Soldotna this weekend, and usually that's a 4A tournament, but I understand Cook Inlet Academy's in it. There's some JV teams, so maybe that's a little bit of a smaller tournament. And, the 8-team tournament is nice. You get in a bracket. You win, you play this team. I think that's ideal in a lot of ways. But in today's age of so many tournaments, it's hard to fill your tournament. And if you don't have 8, 7's not a good tournament. 5's not a good tournament.
No.
Last service had 10. That doesn't fit itself into a bracket. But I think when you have a 4-team tournament, now it's easier to get 3 teams than it is obviously to get 7 teams. And the other thing I like about it is you schedule games. So you're going to play everybody in your tournament, which is nice.
That is nice.
And you know what time the game is. So, in a bracket tournament, you might go, and if we win, we play at 7:30. But if we lose, we play at 3. And so you got that to think about. But it has its advantage. But I'm kind of swinging toward the 4-team tournament and being able to track down your 3 teams and kind of not be chasing teams when your tournament's going to start in a month or so.
Yeah, there's positives and negatives to all different sides of it in that way. It's definitely a lot easier to manage than an 8-team tournament for the most part. Less teams, as you said, schedules set, people know what it is, parents know what it is, anybody flying in knows all those different details. But there is some excitement with an 8-team because it's a bracket, so win, lose, all that stuff. It really depends on your style and what you like and what are you trying to find out of your tournament and what are you trying to do and accomplish out of your tournament. Everyone's trying to make money out of their tournament, but are you trying to really develop the team along the way? Are you wanting to really train for that same type of style of a conference and hopefully in your program, a state tournament, which is going to be an 8-team bracket more than likely for conference stuff. So again, it really just depends. You can be talked into both ways. I prefer the 8, but again, we've seen that where and especially Alaska, and especially this week, this is a big weekend where if you aren't a really very well-established tournament and you're trying to get 8, that is a brutal, tough slog. Because if you don't get it, you're going to be trying to figure out a 5-team modified bracket or a 6-team modified bracket. because there are so many tournaments this weekend that, I mean, there's not enough teams in the state playing at this time or that can travel and do things to fill all. If every one of these was an 8-team bracket, wouldn't work. Not enough teams.
Now, what we've seen sometimes in the past is, when you're stuck on seven, all of a sudden maybe the host team throws their JV team or
Yep.
someone else puts a JV team in. And then the other thing is that, like you said, we live in Alaska. So Kodiak might not show up, Barrow might have a tough time, Nome. So all of a sudden the team doesn't show. It's the first day. Even in a state tournament, that can be a factor and you bounce games around. But it works in a regular season tournament as well.
Yeah, we're hoping to have Jason Boerger, the boys' Grace Christian basketball head coach, on. They've got an event tonight with the team because a night before type of meal and dinner. So we're trying to be able to get him on to talk a little bit about the tournament. But just before he comes on, since we don't want to just read the schedule to him or anything like that, and read the schedule to all of you, here's the schedule. Basically, it's a boys and girls. Brad mentioned a little bit earlier. It's a round robin. This tournament's been going on. It's one of the longer standing tournaments over this, weekend since the basketball season moved from this early October to December through March. March Madness, kind of the first part of the 2000s. This is a 27-year-old basketball tournament, 27th annual. And it starts tomorrow, Thursday. So depending on when you're listening to this podcast, but it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And here are the boys' teams. So the boys' teams, they do have the Tikiak boys are in town, and they're going to be playing a couple JV. They're going to be playing a few of the JV teams in town, and they're going to do that at the start of every day. But for the boys' teams that are part of the tournament, we have Nome Belts. Obviously, people know who Nome is. They're a staple at the 3A state tournament and the previous state champions. Then you have the Coal Valley Christian team out of Boise, Idaho area. I can let Coach talk about them a little bit more. And then Grace Christian Grizzlies, obviously, and then the Mount Edgecombe Braves. So you're going to have two of the perennial top 4 3A teams in the state, and then Grace, who moved to 4A last year, who was ranked number 1, 2 in the state for most of the year for 4A. They're playing, which is going to be, I don't know what they're going to look like this year compared to last year, but I know that Grace's best player is going to be a year better, and that should scare a lot of people. So Mount Edgecombe, and for the girls, Mount Edgecombe, Nome, Grace girls, and the Tikiak girls. So the girls play, Mount Edgecombe, Nome girls play at 3, Nome boys and the Coal Valley Christian boys play at 4:30. Grace girls play Tikiak at 6 p.m. and then the Grace boys versus Mount Edgecombe, that's at 7:30 p.m. And again, this is on Thursday and it's a round robin. So all these teams will play each other. And that is a great opening set of 3A girls basketball and then some of the powerhouses in Alaska basketball for the 3A and 4A level.
Yeah, you look at Grace, you mentioned that they moved to the 4A level. They finished well in the tournament. The semifinal game they lost really went right down to the wire. And this was kind of a classic 3A tournament, but now with Grace moving up, and you mentioned Nome, it's been, a couple years since they haven't taken home the trophy.
Yep.
And I think Grace moving up had no small part in that. But actually, along with Ken Bone, who used to be the head coach at Washington State and at SBU. We went up to Nome and we did a camp up there, 90 players strong, 3 different groups. I want to tell you, basketball is king in that town. And we've been to a few villages, but, Coach Callahan, he's as serious a basketball guy as I've ever been around. So
Yep.
in other places, there was no real basketball play or person just really watching everything we did. Coach Callahan was in his office. They got shooting machines out there. They got like 100 basketballs. They got, 80 that are camp balls. The rest are the official state ball. And they got Finn Gregg, who's, had a major part in the camp. And when he wasn't working camp, he's over there on the shooting machine. And I just think it won't be too long before he's making big contributions at Alaska Fairbanks. So I heard a story about Finn Gregg the last time they took second place. And he took the second place trophy and he put it in his room. And he just looked at it every day. Because not only is he a great player and a great student, he's a great leader. And just by looking at that trophy, he put it in his mind that, Nome wasn't going to come in second again. And, he's been able to live up to that promise he made himself.
Yep. Those, losses can be powerful motivators, much so more than wins. So that does not surprise me. And that definitely, I've met Finn a couple times, spoken to him a few times here and there, and that definitely sounds very much in line with the Finn that I met.
Yeah, it's amazing to be the valedictorian and kind of an example. The kids in Nome, they want to be like him, and he's not a bad role model to follow.
Yep. Then the tournament continues on Friday, and there's some more matchups there. I know if you go to the Grace Christian website, you'll be able to find this. Also, some of these games are listed on ASAA365.com. There has been in the past an area where some of the tournaments are listed. I'm not seeing that right now, but I know sometimes that information can be hard to get and gather. So it's not something that always can happen. So just so you know, there is a place on ASAA365.com. If you're looking for schedules, you can kind of pull up a master schedule. And it looks like there's 9 games that are in the system for tomorrow. I know there's more than 9 varsity boys games tomorrow. I'm sure there are, just because of the amount of tournaments that are happening. So definitely take a look at that. I know that the Service Cougar tip-off starts tomorrow as well, but I haven't seen a bracket on that, so I couldn't tell you anything about that one as far as who's in that or when it starts exactly, anything like that.
Like, are they having it? Who's in it? I mean, I guess hard to find out stuff, but I think Lumen Christi has the tournament. There's so much going on, but I think games that you want to check your box on. First of all, Grace will play Life Carlberg's team. Of course, Life, a great player on Grace teams in the past, and for him to be able to bring his team back, that's always a tournament manager's dream or tournament director's dream, to bring home somebody who had a connection to the school. So I'd say if you want to go to that game, wouldn't be a bad idea to.
No, that's Friday night, and I've heard that team is pretty good, and I'll tell you who I heard that from. So Grace has a connection, Life coaching the team, so Life's bringing him up. Well, it just so happens that my best friend in college, my roommate in college, they live in Boise, and his son attends the school, and his son made varsity. So he's actually coming up because his son is on the Life's team, that Cole Valley Christian team. So it's just kind of a full circle that, now my best friend from college's son is in high school, which doesn't make me feel old at all. and is coming up to play in this tournament as well. His first time in Alaska. So I'm actually picking him up at the airport later tonight. So it's kind of a full circle tournament for me as well to be able to see that. I know that happens a lot in the States with people traveling around and other things, but that doesn't really happen here in Alaska in my experience. So this is kind of a first for me as well, and it's pretty exciting to be able to see that.
So that game will be Friday night. That'll be the late game.
Yep.
And great host team, they'll play the late game every night. So you can know that on your schedule. But that being said, Saturday night is going to be Nome, one of the, if we had a poll, they'd be the top ranked team. I think Grace would be in the top 4 or 5 in a 4A poll. So I think that Saturday night game is just going to be wild. And you know how tournaments go; they kind of keep growing every night. So
they do.
I'm either going to get there early or have someone saving me a seat.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a busy, packed place over at Grace on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you definitely get there early, enjoy some of the food, the popcorn, and all the fun times with everybody and visiting people there. Because if you're a basketball junkie, these are the teams that you want to see at the boys 3A and 4A level, and as well as the girls 3A level too. Well, and 2A, Tikiak girls too. They missed the tournament last year for the 2A, which is the first time that I could remember since I had been at ASAA. I don't remember a time they hadn't. So I know that group is a motivated group to get back to the tournament this year. So they're going to be throwing everything they've got at all these teams, Nome, Edgecombe, and the Grace girls as well. So those are going to be some must-watch games.
So I don't know, Jason. I just got a message from Jason, and I'm not sure what that message meant. So I don't know if we can reply back to him. We tried to wait with some of this information, but I'd still like to hear from him specifically about his team and, some of the things that have to happen to put together a team like this. So I don't know, should I jump on another phone? Should I jump off this call? Don't start about me being.
I didn't get a message from him.
Well, I know I've been talking to him. Why don't
we can always get with him during the tournament at some point too?
Yeah,
because we'll be there.
Okay. Why don't you hit on wrestling for just a second? I'll make the call. I'll be back in 1 minute, and we'll see if we can catch up with them.
Okay. Yeah, right. State wrestling also starts this weekend. That is over at the Alaska Airlines Center. That begins on Friday and continues through Saturday. All those matches are on the NFHS network live, so you'd be able to watch any of those at those times. And again, that's the state wrestling tournament at Alaska Airlines Center starting on Friday and continuing Saturday. Let's see, what is the other if you check out ASAA365.com, should mention to you as well that you can find those schedules for the basketball teams on there. There's basically a spot where you can find the schedules and scores for boys and girls leading in, or broken down by division as well. And taking a look at all that information can really help you map out what you want to do over the course of the Christmas break and into January, mapping out some of the tournaments that you might want to go and check out. One thing I would like to mention, I know this was a big deal as we look forward to the end of the season, but touch on a little bit the Anchorage Wolverines. They had a big sweep of the Wisconsin Windigo last weekend, which is big because the Wisconsin Windigo have really been playing well, and they had moved into the NOL top 10. but taking that sweep in the beginning of December really is really helped them. So now you looking at the Midwest Division standings, it is really tight on the division standings. You have, let me pull those up. There they are. Where the, yeah, you've got Anchorage Wolverines have 29 points. Wisconsin Windigo have 33. Springfield has 33. Fairbanks has 34. And Minnesota Wilderness have 38. Minnesota Wilderness jumped out to a pretty big lead at the beginning of the year, but Fairbanks, Springfield, Wisconsin, and the Wolverines, and as well as the Janesville Jets, which have 27 points, have really tightened up. And the Anchorage Wolverines play the Springfield Junior Blues in Springfield Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if they can pick up 5 to 6 points, you're going to be then right ahead of Springfield and right in the third place, 1 or 2 points behind Fairbanks, depending on what happens with their action. So the Anchorage has won the last 4. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. And it's definitely tightening up, and it's going to make January, which is a lot of Wolverines, Ice Dogs, Brown Bears games in between each other, to really decide what the Midwest Division looks like towards the end of this season.
Isaiah, tell me a little bit about the crowds that have showed up to watch the Wolverines play. It's kind of fun to have one team that kind of draws all over Anchorage. And I know you've had some special events that help drive the crowds as well. So fill us in on what's happening there.
We're averaging a little around 4,000 a game. Some games have been substantially higher. Our game before Thanksgiving, the night before, was a little over 5,500. So we're drawing some big crowds, big energy, lots of fun. We hear feedback, obviously, and the vast majority of feedback is very positive about the fun and the entertaining aspect of the Wolverines and the game and all the things that are associated with. Or have there been some issues here or there, certain things? Of course, because when you're dealing with that many people and that many games and all that stuff, those things are bound to happen. But the vast majority of things have been really ultra positive and ultra engaging in the way that the fans have been enjoying themselves, and having the Wolverines show up at the Providence Children's Hospital and coloring and interacting with some of the kids has been fun as well. So all those different things have been really rewarding to see and very great to see for the community at large, especially in the winter when it's super cold.
Yeah, Isaiah, I guess another factor would be it wasn't too long ago that Sullivan Arena was hosting homeless, and certainly that's a problem that still needs to be solved. But to see that building go away from its original use, it was built in the 80s when things were kind of flowing, oil and money. And the Sullivan Arena, to have it go from kind of an empty space, much different than its original purpose. It's been refurbished, and we're seeing a lot of exciting things happen. So it's great to have the arena back and hopping.
I would agree. It really is. Some people have described it as it's the heartbeat of the city. It's, a central gathering place for the community. And I would argue we have a few different things like that in this town. But as far as entertainment value and as far as just having something to do outside, or not outside, but outside of the home, outside of a school, where it's just a fun date night, evening out with friends, or a wholesome family gathering kind of thing. There isn't many things like that in this town to do. and the Wolverines being in that building is one of them. And to get that many people involved and having a good time and enjoying themselves is definitely, you can feel the energy in that building when you walk in, especially when a goal is scored for us and the Wolverines. It really is electric. And I know the other teams feel it. I hear it from the other teams. We get a lot of the other team's best shot. They play with a lot of adrenaline and a lot of, oomph because they haven't played in front of crowds that big. They can feel the energy. They can hear it. They can feel it. So they like playing in front of big crowds like that. So we definitely get everybody's best shot when they come in here.
Well, one thing is, I got to admit, I'm not a hockey guy. My nephew played on the last Aces team.
He did.
There's a little bit of hockey in there, but my problem, and of course, Keaton from around the world, he can spot a goal. But I'll go to a game; it'll be like 9-2, and I actually saw 3 pucks go in the net. I mean, that's how good of a hockey watcher I am.
Well, you come to a Wolverines games, I guarantee you'll know when a goal is scored. You won't
Yeah.
be able to miss that. You'll definitely know what's happened because there's lights, the horn. It is a wild scene.
I,
Wild scene.
I see the red light. I hear the horn. It's just that little puck.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
really?
well, that I can't help. I can't help you with seeing the little black puck any better. That I can't do. We do replays during those games, so that can help. I may be able
Thank,
to help you.
thank goodness. Hey, I want to throw out a couple more things. I know we're just getting started with our basketball coverage over the course of the year. It's going to be fun to watch that. They're kind of the dominant happening thing, hockey in high school as well. But as we head to March Madness, I'm thinking about some of these really good tournaments. And one I wanted to mention, we'll talk about it more later, is the what used to be the ACS tournament, and now is the Mountain City Christian Academy tournament. And we talked about how hard it is to get teams. Well, they really have a history of getting teams. It's not only a 8-team boys bracket, but a 8-team girls bracket, and that'll go, from 9 in the morning till late at night, till even after the time you go to bed, Isaiah. And I know they've added a JV tournament. They'll play it in their smaller gym. They have 3 gyms. A lot of the teams are housed there. So, and just like these other tournaments, it takes a lot of volunteers to make it happen. So that tournament will be, I think it is 1, 2, 3 of January. So great place to start the year, and we'll certainly fill you in a little more about what happens there. And I guess the interesting thing is now we're previewing now, but every other broadcast we'll be able to evaluate, what's happened at games, what the standings are. So if you can't tell, I'm excited about basketball.
Yeah, couldn't tell. I'm glad you told me because I just was not picking up on
Yeah, I
it.
know. I know you are too.
Oh, I am for sure.
Seahawks, Wolverines, basketball's right in there.
Well, like I opened the broadcast with, I mean, there are exciting things happening tomorrow. We all can acknowledge that. That's true. But we all know the biggest thing that's happened in 2025, Seahawks Rams tomorrow, Thursday night football. We just everybody just needs to accept it and acknowledge it, and it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It'll be
Thank
okay. It'll be okay, everybody, to acknowledge that is the biggest thing in 2025.
you.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
You owe a big thank you to the
Oh, I owe a big thank you to the Vikings.
and to Pete Carroll because Gino has left the building, and Sam Darnold, who had a great year last year, for some reason the Vikings thought J.J. McCarthy, the injured rookie out of Michigan who doesn't pass, would be better than Sam Darnold. And to well,
Well,
to no surprise, that wasn't true.
in fairness, Sam has to play better tomorrow night for me to really, really 100% buy in. But if he does, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
So, but now our guests, we don't need to have them. We don't need to have him listen to all the Seahawks talk that I want to get through, because I could break down every unit for the Rams and the Seahawks if we wanted to. I could do it. And if you guys all want to hear that information, you just send me a text or shoot us an email on alaskasportstalk.com and I'll do it. I'll do it. I will do a full breakdown of that game later, because I will be able to, because that's how closely I will be watching. Now, I will be watching closely after I watch a little bit of basketball over at the Grace Christian Grizzly Classic. And joining us, head coach Jason Boerger. Welcome.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Long time listener. Really appreciate getting to be on your show, and thanks for having me.
You got the logo behind you. That's
good.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's actually a bear from Nome. It's a grizzly bear from Nome.
Wow, that's
If
cool.
you called in, Jason, that would have been 2 dinners you owed us.
That's true.
Hey, Jason, we've been talking about your tournament because we were waiting, but how about telling us a little bit about your team? And we've kind of watched Bristol Tobin since he was very young. And
very young.
Just amazing how you, looking over his high school career, I don't know that I remember a player that's improved so much year to year.
Yeah, he had a really fantastic season coming into his junior year last year. As a sophomore, he was good, but last year he was, I felt, one of the best players in the state, and that was just a testament to his hard work and his coachability, and he's just he's a great young man and a hard worker in off season, and we had a lot of good pieces around him, and I think that always helps as well. I'm sure he would say as well, you need a team, and I think a lot of pretty talented guards were able to find him, and we put him in really great spots, and he finished at a really great clip for us last season. And so yeah, I've coached Bristol for quite a number of years into junior high as well, and I don't claim him in the sense that I made him or anything like that, because he's really, his dad and everybody else have poured a lot of time into him, and he's been around the game his whole life. And coach's kid, and so he's been a lot of fun, and I think he's gonna have a great senior year. We're looking forward to that. Our team, in fact, has like 6 seniors, so we're pretty experienced. We're looking forward to it.
Hey, Jason, Bristol did hang around our practices when he was younger, and we didn't do very much with him. He just went and got a basket and a ball, and yet, like a lot of good players, good players have many coaches. Like everybody steps up. Like I had him in 3rd grade. I knew his aunt, and everybody claims. So Bristol's become that kind of player, whether you had anything to do with him or a lot to do him, like you and his dad. I mean, everybody's going to claim credit for what he's been able to accomplish.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, and I think honestly, he can keep improving and building off of last year. So it'll be exciting to see what this year has in store for us. I mean, I think, if he took people by surprise last year, I don't think that will be the case this year, and he's going to have to deal with that, and I think he's ready for that. But also we have a pretty balanced group of guys around him that I think can space the floor. We have some good shooters, and guys are going to help. I think kind of give us a balanced offense this year, and looking forward to seeing how that comes together. As a coach, it's always the first game of the year. You get, it's exciting night. It's gonna be hard to sleep, but it's also, man, it's just so many possibilities this time of year. It's exciting, and I just, like every coach in the state, I'm sure just hopes their team puts it together at the right time at the end of the year, and keeps building up for it along the way.
Hey, you had good guard play last year, and I think of your freshman that just kind of fearless. I can't think of any freshman. Am I right on that? He just plays, I don't know how else to describe it. Fearless.
Yeah, sophomore, probably sophomore Braden Clarkson, who's just about as tough of a player as he gets. He played off our bench a little bit, but played probably the third, fourth most minutes for us last season. And he's tough as nails. He'll be a guy we'll lean on. Now he's a junior this year. We'll lean on him quite heavily for defense, and he's a great attack in the rim and a good shooter. His older brother Ashton Clarkson is a senior this year as well. So the Clarkson boys are poised to have a good season, and I think that's going to be a big part of that.
Well, I know those two, they don't really care where that line is. They're going to be either on it or behind it. It's all the same. Yeah. But Isaiah and I can remember a few years back when we had really, really good teams, and then their little brothers came up. And you're kind of in the situation where you had such an outstanding season last year. And I know what other coaches think. They go, oh, wait till next year, wait till so-and-so's not here. But the truth is you're ready to keep, building on what you did last year.
Yeah, we hope so. We'll miss senior Robbie Annett quite a bit. Our point guard ran the show and was a high IQ kind of kid for us, and really, really did some sensational things. Sometimes he drove us crazy, but overall, really great at a lot of things that we're missing. So that'll be one piece. That in a point guard, as you all know, is a pretty big deal. So getting adjusted to that and kind of balancing out new roles, and that's kind of what every coach I'm sure is going through. That's kind of part of the art and science of calibrating the team for a new year. It's easy to say reload. I mean, I feel like sometimes we're looking really good, like that's the case, and other times I feel like we look like we're like a lot of teams just have a lot of work to do still.
Well, I know there's relationships to talk about between you and other coaches, but I know you've known Pat Callahan for a long time, and I have as well. And well, he's hard to get along with. You guys have a long time history, and I'm kind of looking forward to that game Saturday night.
Yeah, that's a 4:00. Was that 4:00 game on Saturday? It's going to be. I know their crowd will show up. I sure hope the Grace Christian faithful will show up as well. I think that we put that game on purpose there. I think it's a game we're excited about. We've played a lot of huge games against each other over the last few years, especially. So that's kind of a rival game. I know we're a big 4A school now, so they're just a little 3A school. But honestly, they're a great program. Coach Callahan does a great job. They have a ton of great good players, and I think that the Nanics always believe they're going to win, and I think we'll be up for it. I'm certainly excited for it as well. And yeah, Coach Callahan and I go way back to high school together. So
I think we should tell people that that's a 7:00 start, just so there'll be seats left. If you come a half hour late, you're not getting in.
No, probably not.
Isaiah, if you got any questions, Jason's been able to answer every question so far.
No, we've all run tournaments. We've done those kind of things, but what was kind of the process for you getting Life's team up here, the Cole Valley Christian team?
I credit our athletic director, Paul Salima. I think at one point, I'm not even sure who first thought of it. I'd said, boy, that'd be great. And I think someone else said, oh, that'd be great. And I don't know, one of us, I think just threw it out there to our athletic director, and he made some inquiries, and next thing you know, I was pretty excited to hear that. They're a very good team. They got length and really, potato fed Idaho boys. They're very, very big and strong, and I think that they have a great program. Life Carlberg, obviously, I coached Tobin Carlberg, and Life Carlberg, and on his own right was an amazing player I coached against when I was at other places, and so it'll just be a lot of fun to get to see Life this weekend and just to coach against him. That's pretty special. He's a great man, and he's a great coach. And I think that what a cool experience for his kids to get to come up here and play. I hope our tournament's usually a great tournament. I think they'll have a great environment, and I hope it's not too great for them. But I'm looking forward to the Friday night matchup and all of that. I I think definitely they're a team that's has done well and expects to do well this year as well. So I think they're going to be it'll be a tough battle.
Yeah, I don't know whose idea it was. Paul's certainly sounds like a likely suspect, but I think life got in yesterday, and two people that I know are pretty thrilled are Lana and Randy. I think you visit with them once in a while, so it's going to be a good Carlberg weekend, but hopefully a good Grace weekend as well, all the way around.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good homecoming and a cool experience. I was wondering, is it unethical to turn on my huddle camera while they're in the gym? They're in the gym right now practicing. I didn't, but
well, I'm glad you didn't, because I'm sure that would have been, well, because they're out of state, you probably wouldn't have gotten, none of the Alaska teams would have been all over you on that one.
Yeah, it might be necessary.
You might have gotten a call from some of my old cohorts out down at the state office in Idaho. That would have been funny. That would have been really funny. Not funny, but would have been funny. I would have had to chuckle on that one.
Well, he's got besides being a good coach and having a talented roster, I mean, he's got a lot going for him. So yeah, I definitely we have enough trouble just working on our own things to work on. We have plenty to do. So I think yeah, it's so early in the year, but it is fun to kind of see where, especially when teams come up from out of state like that. It's going to be really fun to follow them as they go on from here, and it's pretty. We don't get to play out of state teams very often, so it's great.
It's very cool.
I think one thing is I'm just going to say the name, Mount Edgecombe. So
yeah,
they might be thinking, hey, wouldn't it be something if we could make a little run here and get some attention of our own?
Yeah, they've got a new coach, and I don't honestly know a lot too much about them of lately. They've had a few kids I've heard that are going to be at the state wrestling tournament this weekend, and I've tried to. It's that time of year where you don't have a lot of film to go off of or different people, so you try to do a little research as you can. But they have good players. They have a great program, a history. I fully expect. I know several of them that we've been working on and talking about already, but yeah, I expect that's going to be a real fun opener tomorrow night, and definitely they bring fans as well. They'll have a crowd, and they're great competitors, so it'll be a fun night.
I know if the wrestlers, it's going to be a physical game.
Yeah, true.
We're going to be pretty physical. Well, I'll say this: I know that in relation to Mount Edgecombe, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm looking up stats and research just to double check myself, but I'm pretty sure it was last year. Let's see. Yes, it was last year. The best game of the 3A that I saw was that Sitka Mount Edgecombe semifinal game. That game was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Those two teams know each other. They were going back and forth, all that, but it was absolutely a barn burner. It was an incredible game. If they bring anywhere close to that to the Grace tournament, I mean, watch out, because that was impressive.
Yeah, they have some seasoned players who've been there quite a bit, and yeah, definitely. What the Southeast? That's a tough conference down there. That's
it's brutal.
Yeah,
brutal.
Edgecombe, you're playing hard because you're going to get a 2-week break. You're a boarding school. Everybody goes home for a while, and I always admire them for coming back the first week in January after not having practice and jumping into another tournament.
Yeah, the challenge on that's got to be incredible. I know Archie did that for a number of years. And you play a Christmas tournament, you bookend it on each end of the holiday, and that's itself is impressive. Yeah, they're a great program, and you probably coached down there a couple of times. Have you guys been down there? It's just a beautiful gym they have, and they all show up in Southeast Alaska for basketball, and I imagine some will show up here too. So.
It's like Hickory. It's like Hickory gym there.
Yep.
Coach, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate that. And I know talking a little bit about the tournament, trying to promote it, and that's the Grace Christian Grizzly Classic starting tomorrow, Thursday, continues Friday and Saturday. And I know if you go on Grace Christian School's website, the schedule's all there. I know we talked a little bit about it as well. And I know if you look at the Grace Christian or Mount Edgecombe or Nome schedule on Max Preps or ASAA365.com, you can find all those times as well. Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you this weekend, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, we'll be there.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that's just such a great tournament. That lineup, when I first saw that lineup, I was pretty surprised that that was the lineup. That's going to be a pretty incredible weekend of basketball to kick off the 2025-26 season for sure.
I think that Paul Salimi, he's going for athletic director of the year. You know, when you get that, I'm not sure if Jason, and I wouldn't be either, is completely on board with the play East in a single game in the middle of December. But you know, Chuck Martin might not be crazy about it either.
Well, I mean, we've talked with Chuck a few times and all that, but Chuck's going to want to play whoever, whenever, most of the time, I would say.
Yeah. One thing he does though is he doesn't get a game too early. So if this is East's first game, I think it is, you know, he doesn't mind the 3 or 4 weeks of practice before even having a game. But
no, he doesn't.
You got to kind of be a good experienced coach to do stuff like that. You know, for me, I always wanted to play right away because, you know, I didn't even have enough practice plans to go 3 weeks.
I'm curious on just how, I know we talked a little bit about it and we'll talk about it. This won't be the last time we talk about it. It'll be a consistent theme throughout this season is the impact of the shot clock. That to me is a big thing. I don't think it's going to come into play really this weekend because most of the teams are 3A and it doesn't apply to 3A, but it does apply to 4A.
Yeah, 4A. Is it just 4A?
It's just 4A. So because it's just 4A, I don't think it'll affect as many tournaments as people might think, but it will impact obviously some tournaments more so than others. And then obviously during the regular season, it'll be a huge impact. So I am curious to see how some of that affects things this coming weekend with some tournaments versus others.
Yeah, you know, I was one of the last holdouts against the shot clock. And, you know, the more problems they have with it, you know, the more I can say I told you so. But when you have an instrument that only Eddie Mater and Mike Giles have ever run before, you know, on the other hand, if those guys can pull it off, you got to figure there's a few more out there.
Well, this first year, I mean, it's going to be bumpy the first year, 100%. It's just going to be bumpy. There's going to be people that hit it wrong. There's going to be people that are going to forget to do it. There's going to be people that, oh, well, I hit the button and this technology didn't happen and this didn't happen. So there's going to be, I'd say I'd put the over-under at 4.5 on how many times the officials have to stop a game at the 4A level because something happened with the shot clock. That's my over-unders, 4.5. I just think it's going to be a little bit of an issue this year. However, I think in the long run, it will be beneficial for the game. It won't be beneficial for the pocketbooks, but it's going to make things interesting. And did get a message from Jason while this discussion is going on saying that they are planning on using it this weekend at Grace. So that's going to make things interesting. I am another tick mark in a reason I'm going to be very interested in having fun watching the games over at Grace.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I'll give you I'll give you $1 if it's not. If it's under 4.5, I'll give you $1, Isaiah. I don't want to get you too excited, but I'm glad we'll see it at Grace, and maybe, the more we see it, the more people can fine tune it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Again, it's not going to go anywhere. And 4As have already, if anything happens, it's going to be expanded with the 3A. That's now, will it go any further than that? No. It's not going to go to 2A. It's not going to go to 1A. That's just not going to happen. But if it works well this first year, maybe 2, then I could see 3A end up getting it as well later on down the line.
Isaiah, Washington and Oregon can do it. Those states aren't. I don't know how to put this because I went to Washington State, so I'm going to withdraw my comment.
Yeah, probably. That's a wise choice. Wise choice. Well, that is about, I think that's, looking at the time, that about wraps it up for us. We've got a big weekend coming up of games, and we'll have a podcast next weekend, or next week, not weekend, next week, where we will break down what happened during the Seahawks and Rams game, what went well, what went wrong. That's what our main focus, of course, will be of the podcast, as I gloat that the Seahawks won.
That'd be a good. I'm looking forward to that 90 seconds.
Oh, yeah, just had to get that in there. So if you're not doing anything on Friday and Saturday, because I know everyone will be watching the Seahawks Rams on Thursday, get down over to the Grace Christian Grizzly Classic over at Grace. Lots of entertaining games are going to be happening there. There's also the Service Cougar Tip-Off, I believe, and some other ones around various places of the state, as well as we open the basketball season starting tomorrow night. For Brad Lowers, I'm Isaiah Vreeman. See you out there.